All right, here we
Where's
go.
Long?
Yeah, California.
Yeah.
What is up, profitable stylist? In one corner, we have Bernard Ori clocking in at 5 foot 2 inches. And the next corner, we have Jay Benjamin clocking in at 7 feet 8 inches. We have David and Goliath going on over here. We are looking at hair shows. We are not just fighting with each other. We're talking about hair shows this
Yeah.
week.
So last week or earlier this week, I did a post in my Facebook. Um, I was trying to promote the next two hair shows I'm going to in Chicago and Pennsylvania, and then I had a few people ask me, "Is there a show in this city and that city?" And I thought, I'm not the official, whatever that big word is. I'm not the official knower of all hair shows. So tell us. That's what I thought.
Oh,
But one thing I'd like to know from you guys out there is what hair show is in your area that you know about that maybe nobody really knows about that is really good. But what I really want to hear about is what hair show you went to in the past or going to in the future, but mostly in the past that was your favorite hair show ever. For me, it was Premier Birmingham, Alabama. It was a fairly small show, but very intimate. You got to know people very well because it wasn't so big that you got lost in the crowd. And I even liked working from the stage there because we really got to know the hairdressers. They all went to the same party after because it was small enough that everybody could fit in the same big ballroom and we could get to know each other. And then the next day, talk more about the crazy stuff that happened and the business stuff. But other than that, we have Jay Benjamin here, who's God. There's so much to say about him. But first, why don't you tell us what was your favorite hair show in the past, or your wild hair show experience?
Well, just, I mean, to introduce myself, my name
Yeah,
is Jay Benjamin. I'm with John Renault. John Renault, just so you know, is one of the largest distributors of hair for men and women probably in the world, I guess, probably.
probably.
Yeah, and we're located in San Diego, California. But I've been in the hair replacement business since I was knee high from the 4th of July, as they say, in July. But I remember going to hair shows as a kid, down to like in New York City, going to see all these women getting their hair done on the stage. I'm talking about the 1970s. I'm dating myself.
Yeah,
But and you never would see hair replacement at those shows at
no,
all.
no.
They're,
And I would say, Jay. Uh, I'm going to tell our age a little bit here, Jay. I don't know if I'll tell our age, but I've been in the hair business for 31 years. And somewhere in that first year, I decided I wanted to do something more profitable, kind of what this channel is all about. How do I make more money in the hair business? So I thought my mom says, you're going to learn hair replacement. So then when I made an account with the first couple of companies, one was the company Jay was working for at the time. He became my very first hair replacement sales rep in the industry. So Jay is not a hairstylist, although he probably could cut a hair system in if he actually did one. So we could talk about that. That's kind of funny. But he was my first rep 30 years ago. So something I know that his present boss is not going to want him to say, so I'm going to say it. He's worked for a couple of the largest hair replacement sellers in the country. So it gives him a unique knowledge in this industry because he's worked for the competitors also. So now he works for the largest seller of hair in the world, and so it's really kind of neat because he knows what the other guys sell. Also, he knows all their brands, all their products. He's pretty much an expert on that side. So it's really fun conversation because I do the hair and teach it, and then he sells it. So we have a lot of interesting conversations. So let me tell a little bit of secret about Eddie real quick. I taught my son, Jay, I taught my son in this studio right here how to do a full cut in. And I said, you know what? Let me put it on film. It's the first time you're ever going to be on film. He said, I don't know what to say. I put two cameras on him and I said, just do it from beginning to end, bond it on, cut it in, talk to the camera however you like. It's practice. If you mess up, we won't use the video. Well, let's just see. Then I send all the footage to Eddie. Eddie doesn't do hair replacement. He never calls me at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, but he calls me and says, "Oh my God, what is this? what is this service? I'm at my in-laws now. My father-in-law needs hair. I'm thinking I'm gonna put on it. I don't even know where to start for a consultation. He got so excited watching. I said, Eddie, you're supposed to be editing the video so we can use them.
And I'm still editing the video because every time I go to edit it, I start watching it and I get reinvigorated again, and I can't edit it.
So Eddie, tell us about your favorite hair show, because I thought that was super fascinating the other day.
Unfortunately it doesn't exist anymore, but
mine either, by the way. Mine either. Premier Birmingham. This was the last
unfortunate year. It's very, very unfortunate. And it was called the Alternative Hair Show. So in Chicago,
where? Chicago.
Yeah, in the Chicagoland area, it was the show commonly was referred to as the Midwest Show. That's how it was known as. And it has now evolved. Fast forward, nowadays everybody knows the Chicago show as ABS Chicago, America's Beauty Show. And that's coming up this April 15, 16, and 17. It's going to be in Rosemont.
We'll be there.
And that's where a lot of the big excitement. Look, I'm going to say this. This is my opinion. A lot of the big excitement is that it's coming back to Rosemont, because for the past few years, it had moved away from Rosemont and it had moved into downtown Chicago, into the convention center down there called the McCormick Place. So now it's back in Rosemont at the Donald Stevenson Convention Center, which is where everybody originally remembers the Midwest Show, and that's where everybody's good feelings and good memories are from. Too. Yeah, right? Because when it went... Say again.
That replaced the Midwest Show? That replaced the Midwest Show?
Yeah, unfortunately, the Midwest Show, as it was known as, went away, and it has become now America's Beauty Show. And it moved to, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it moved to downtown Chicago. And then, a lot of...
Since COVID, it shrunk a little bit, though. Is that why it's moved back to Rosemont?
In my opinion, it was dying before the COVID. It had turned into a freaking flea market. Look, as my opinion as a hairdresser, it had turned into a freaking flea market. There was no more education, or there was very little education,
So your favorite show was not the actual
actual beauty show itself during the day. My favorite part of that weekend was at night. You would go to the Rosemont Theater down
you're a
the
vampire.
street.
That's why you like the nighttime stuff, because you're a vampire.
You would.
Go ahead, tell me about that show.
You would get dressed up. You would get all dressed up. It was literally like going to a theater show. It was like going to a play show, and it was seating for about 500 to 1,000, and you had to get tickets to get in. It was a very to get in there. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm bored, let me go catch a movie type situation. Right. And so you would go in, you'd get seated, and it was literally it was the Rosemont. It's the Rosemont Theater. So it had like that curvature seating, and you'd have the upper balcony, the lower balcony seating. You would get your drink. You would sit there, and it was a huge stage. It was like a Broadway stage. It's a theater play production place. The lights go off, and for the next 2-3 hours, it was like 15 minutes. It would happen in a blur. And it was just nonstop presentation, one after the other. And it was, some of it was pre-done, and it was just for presentation purposes. Some of it was live. The stylist would come out, and it was an actual live presentation. And they would have the top performers from all over the world in their respective categories coming out. And it was a haircut. It was an avant-garde updo style. It was a regular updo, hair color, hair extensions. Like, it was just everything being on display.
It had a futuristic vibe.
And that was the amazing thing. It was basically showing you the hair of today and what the hair of tomorrow is going to become. And it was just so fascinating, because you're sitting here watching this and you're saying like, oh yeah, we do this. And then all of a sudden they transform it, and you'd be like, what is that? Who's going to walk around looking like that?
Like that, you wonder how anybody did that.
And how did you create that? How do you do that? it was the first insight into futuristic hair and what hair can actually become and what hair can actually do, and why it was so important to be to join competition and do competition hair work, why you should go seek out education, why hands-on is so important, practicing is important, and failing and learning from your mistakes is so important. You would watch this, and just the fact of, you should dress up when you're behind the chair. You should make a whole to-do behind the chair. And you should do a whole stage production behind the chair. Because if you're doing this on stage and it is like wowing 1,000 hairdressers, all of their egos out the door, everybody's sitting there clapping, they can't get enough, the show ends, we all want more, it was like, I'm probably getting really loud right now. I'm so overly excited just remembering it. It was fascinating. It was so freaking fascinating.
I can tell you liked it.
I loved it.
So the reason I brought Jay on today was, first of all, congratulations to Jay Benjamin. Last year, we had the most views of anybody we interviewed last year was your video last
Golf
year.
Clap for you, Jay.
So we need you to perform really well again today.
Yeah, of all the guest speakers we've had, you were the most watched and requested guest speaker we've had.
So something I noticed, we already had the hair show topic up, and I told Jay, one thing I noticed from doing hair shows from the very beginning is there was never hair replacement at these hair shows. And I thought maybe you could give us a little insight of why was there no hair replacement? We're starting to see it a little bit now, but still not a lot. What is your take on that?
Well, just as a memory, I remember it had to be 20 years ago or so. We were in Las Vegas doing a show. And I don't know if you've ever been to a show with bedhead behind you.
Oh, no, not behind me. But
so you can't hear yourself think, and they're jumping up on beds and stuff. It was crazy. And at that show, I'll never forget it, they had these imitation stars, Anyway, so we were doing demonstrations there. And during the day, we would actually pull someone out of the audience and literally cut a hair system on a guy. We just brought about, I don't know how much hair with us, and we literally were just cutting hair. People were sweating at the palms. They were nervous wreck, and we would get 100 time around, and I'm working around the booth, and I'll never forget, maybe some of our audience won't remember this, but remember years ago on television, they had the Helsinki program, which I think it ended up being a scam. But anyway, hair back, and I said, what do you think? And he's got no hair at all. And I said, what do you think of this? He goes, this is absolutely amazing. I said, so what are you a hairstylist? He goes, no, I'm the guy that started the Helsinki. Thinking to myself, well, geez, he has no hair. And I asked him, so how did it work for you? So I said, you can actually get Jay picking up your end.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look at the controls here.
So something about, I know what he's saying because we talked about it earlier. The Helsinki was a hair growth. I don't even know exactly what it was, but it kind of reminds me of the more modern day Rogaine, like buy this product and you'll get hair. Yeah. And so the guy who started Helsinki was impressed with hair replacement being done at a hair show, looking at people get hair. And Jay asked him, does it really work? But as he's asking me, he looks, and the guy is bald. So you would think maybe it doesn't work, or don't be your own spokesman.
So the bottom line is that when we went with the show and cut-ins on the show, it was totally, amazing. The problem was at that time is that hairstylists didn't think that hair replacement was creative enough.
I'm going to tell you why I don't think hairstylists thought hair replacement.
One of the reasons why, this is back in the, we're talking the 80s, so.
Real quick, real quick, Jay.
Go ahead.
Are you on your Wi-Fi? Are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Move so Wi-Fi.
Is your connection stable? It seems like your connection's cutting out.
No,
so I'm going to talk while they're trying to figure that out. I think, I ended up having to plug into Wi-Fi over time. I had to get this wire and plug into my USB and be hardwired in because I was breaking up a little bit in the early days of doing this. unless you're close to the router. But what Jay was saying is for a long time, hair replacement wasn't looked at as creative for the average hairdresser. So they didn't want to do hair replacement. And I'd say that is very true. I think, God, Hair Club for Men did a lot of good and a lot of bad for the hair replacement industry. I think with a big fast growth like that, you're going to have a little bit of both. But what they did in the beginning was they grew so fast they had to systematize it. It almost became like a factory, like you're an assembly line where they taught you how to just take hair off, put it back on, glue it on, all the same way. No creativity. Don't get creative with the haircuts. And so it just became so fast and so methodical that it was not desired by other hairstylists. And a few of the bigger companies came out with these classes where they said, let's teach talented stylists, not just the ones that don't make it in a salon and go work for Hair Club, or the ones that come right out of school and go straight to Hair Club. Talented stylists that are doing stylish cuts on people already. Let's teach them how to do hair replacement, just the technique, and let them bring their creativity to the cut, the style. And that's, I think, what woke up the hair replacement world. Don't you think, Jay?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know a couple of things since those days. Like, for instance, we've got now 13 different designs to be able to be created. Man, and Bernard recently was in our warehouse, and the warehouse was so big of women's stuff that he couldn't believe that was the things that were out there that were available now. Today, it's probably one of the more creative crafts.
Eddie, what do you think if he just turns his video off and we just have sound? Because I think the sound might, just a guess from me.
I
don't think it'll help.
I don't think that's going to make a difference. Something with your connection, Jay, is skipping. I'm trying to
using quite a bit, and your voice is a little choppy. I'm sorry about sorry guys about all that connection. So
that's the fun of doing live stuff. How many live shows have you been at and something goes wrong? And then all of a sudden you're like, you're sitting on stage in front of everybody and you're like, well, this is what we're doing now.
But you know what? I
will quickly move. All right.
Yeah, maybe
next to my router.
Maybe closer to the router would make a difference, huh, Eddie?
Yeah. Try that, please.
So I love.
What is your favorite show, Bernard? While he's getting himself.
Well, I mentioned my favorite show was Premier Birmingham because it was so small.
Why? But what was it about the show that really got you excited to want to do shows?
So I'd say the intimacy, but let me say what I think really. We're getting a tour. We're getting a tour of his house. But I think what I loved about shows was kind of what you talked about earlier: the pressure, the thinking on your feet, the changes. And one of the main things that happened to me was in New York each year, because that's where the distributor was for She hair extensions that we still sell today and teach. But it was the first one I ever did, and I was so nervous. I get on stage, and every year it seemed like the owner or the world educator would say, okay, this year we're going to do, wait, the show opens in an hour. What do you mean? Or tomorrow morning. And he would change everything. We're going to do flat bonds now. But I had never practiced flat bonds. So we're going to just totally do something different at the last second. And that was just part of the stress of a hair show, which I don't know, I guess I ended up thriving on. But one of my best learning experience I'll never forget. I mean, it's even why I just brought these two heads up. Because these are placement patterns, which seem for hair extensions, which seem to be some of our best trending, commented on videos. People want to know placement patterns. But I just remember this girl coming up because they'd buy hair in a booth and then they'd want us to put it on. And that was our for the show. People, like Jay was cutting in hair replacement hair systems on stage. People love watching the action happen. We were putting extensions in and cutting them. But I wasn't doing the consultations or the sales. Girls that were not stylists at the counter in the middle of the booth would sell hair to some girl and say, go to the stage, they'll put it on you. This girl shows up with, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 strands in her hand and says, I said, what do you want to do with that? She goes, I want extensions. I said, well, that's not enough hair to make your hair thick and full. But that's what she said. I told her I only had this much money. And so, so they just got all of her money, sold her some hair and said, make it happen, Bernard. And that's where some of the biggest learning experiences happened for me. So the very first thing I thought was, where's the most important place to put 50 strands of hair? Because they sold it in packs of 25. She got 2 packs. That is like a third of the amount of hair you need for a full head. So I am freaking out. What am I going to do with 50 strands? That's when I learned that the very top row of hair around the top was the most important row. I thought, where could I put some hair? And if it was just down, it wouldn't be as noticeable. Very high up, because it would overpower the rest of the hair. And then the next few was the very bottom row. And then if she put it in a ponytail, the hair extensions at the top and the bottom would encompass all the hair. And so it was one of the, like, that is like so burned in my brain that the top row and bottom row are the most important, because that's where I was sweating, freaking out, had those sweaty palms you were talking about on stage in front of a couple hundred people. Make this look good. People are watching you. And I'm on a microphone, and I'm like holding it off to the side to have a look
right.
conversation with the, this is not going to work. You're going to look terrible with this little bit of hair.
Look, we're just keep smiling. Backstage will fix everything. Okay, just keep smiling for now. Don't worry about what happens now.
So I love the pressure. I love working under pressure. I love the growth, the learn. The funny thing is, I learned more teaching than I did learning. Like when I go to a class to learn something, I'll learn something. But then if I try to reteach it, oh man, that's when the real learning happens. You remember everything you learned and you figure things out.
Well, Jay, wouldn't you say like all the knowledge that you have accumulated over the years has literally been from just fielding questions from people and dealing with the issues of supply chain or just ordering or people wanting to buy things like this product versus that product?
Well, I mean, one of the things I've seen that has changed, by the way, am I doing better now?
I think so. Connection? We'll find out in a moment.
Okay. One of the things I've seen a change, because we talked about creativity and going on, because some of them are super creative. There's a lot of stuff going on creatively. And hairstylists love that creativeness. And so today's market's really changed because there's a lot more products on the market to be able to help a man or a woman with hair. I mean, for instance, 30 different designs. And I was saying that Bernard just recently was in San Diego, and he saw our warehouse, which is huge, with different kinds of hair systems that are available for women. It's doable. And we got hair that's directly out of skin, so it looks like the hair grew out of your head. It's called direct inject technology. I mean, it's just unbelievable kind of stuff that we didn't have years ago. And so the creativeness is just through the roof, So
would direct inject have no return hairs?
It has no return hairs. That's right. Yeah, it's directly injected into the skin, and so the hair comes directly out. We have something called direct inject technology, and we have something called Chevaux Direct, which is a unique product,
So Jay froze up a little bit there again.
Hold on, let's try it. Let's try it. Jay, what if you turn off your camera? Will that kill your microphone, or will your microphone still work if you turn off your camera?
So let me tell you guys what direct inject is for a minute while they work out some technical issues. Even I thought you turned mine off, but it just moved. So every wig. You're still breaking up, huh?
I didn't know if you could hear me. That's all.
No, it just messed up the whole stream. Okay.
I'll go back on.
Yeah, we might as well see you.
Jeez, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Eddie.
Direct inject is an incredible concept. What's that? What? Huh?
I don't know.
I think we just need to redo this live next week, huh?
Potentially, possibly. I don't know.
So I'm going to say what direct inject is, and we'll end it early since it's a bad connection. Jay, we might do this again next week, and we're going to get you set up with some better wiring and a microphone and everything. But direct inject, which is pretty incredible. Let me tell you what return hair is first, so that direct inject makes sense. Every hair system that we use on a person's head, I shouldn't say every, but almost all hair systems, wigs, whether it's human or synthetic, they take a long fiber. Let's just say we take a fiber of hair that is 18, 20 inches long. We connect here because they pull a little bit of this hair through the mesh, and then they knot it, and so the hair that is upside down will fall this way, and it might fall just a little, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches in there, where the other half of the hair falls longer. Well, that short hair, the cuticle's not going in the same direction as the long hair because it's fell upside down. They call that the return hair. In some hair extensions, the little short hairs, what some people call the mustache hairs or the beard hairs, or the return hairs are the proper word for it. Those hairs are upside down and sometimes cause some tangling because of the cuticle being upside down. With direct inject, it's obviously going to be a little more expensive, I imagine, because it's going to be a little more work, a little harder to make. I don't even know the price of it, but I think some people are going to love the price of it because you're going to have a natural looking skin base that's going to have hairs injected in. So first of all, there's no knot, so you don't see a little ball of something on the scalp that's going to slightly look not real because hair is not knotted on real people's scalps. So this is going to be pushed in. There'll be no return hair, no knot, and a natural looking scalp. So it's going to really resemble. I like what you said before we got on this live too, Jay. We'll give you another chance to try to talk about it. The difference in putting hair on a person's head surgically or not surgically. Why would that, you talked about getting the amount of hair you want. What was that phrase you used?
A cosmetically acceptable amount of hair.
Cosmetically acceptable amount of hair. So a lot of times when you do surgery, go ahead.
Well, I'll give it a shot. When you do surgery, it depends on your donor area, so you might not get as much hair as you want. You know what I mean?
Right.
But replacement, you can actually get as much hair or as little hair as you want
It's
and
not
control
working.
it.
It's not working. The connection. I
Volume's coming through okay, but he's freezing a lot.
Even his voice is getting cut up though.
Okay.
It sounds like
I'm gonna translate one last time, and then we'll end it early, and then we'll try to work.
Yeah,
out
will you
some
be available again, Jay, next week? Can we do it again next week?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Hey, let's wrap it up. For the few people watch live, good for you, because RJ tells me he's gonna delete this video after it's done. It was so bad. We'll do it again. So if you got to watch this,
I don't necessarily think we have to delete it per se, but
I think we have an executive decision by RJ.
all right, let's end this so I can call RJ and fight with him.
Yeah, right. end the live, and then let's talk about how we can fix that.
Right. All right, guys. Again, this is the whole thing about live streams. This is why we do it. This is the fun of it and the pain of it. And this is exactly things like this that happens on stage. I wish we had. See, that's the one cool thing. This is kind of like a live. Well, not kind of. This is a live show.
Right.
So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm ending the stream.
All right.
But don't disconnect.